Hello friends, today's date is 8 March 2022. My name is Kemagi Ramesh Patil and this is my second attempt and our today's video topic is exception handling in the Java. So first of all we see what is the exception. An exception is a problem that arises during the execution of the program. When an exception occurs, the normal flow of the program is Uh, disrupted and the program application terminated abnormally, which is not recommended. Therefore these exceptions are to be handled. An exception can occur for the many reasons. For example, they are occur in the following some situations. In that first will if the user enter the invalid data. Secondly, if the file that needs if the file that needs to be open and that data cannot be found, or other situation is network connection has been lost in the middle of the communication, or the JVM has run out of the memory. Some of these exceptions are caused by the user error. Some are occurs by the programmer, and others or some are occurs during the because of the physical resources that have failed in some manner. Based on this, we have the three categories of the exception that we are explaining it one by one. There are the three types of the exception, that is the check exception, uncheck exception, and the errors. First of all, we can see about the what is the check exception. A check exception is an exception that is checked by the compiler at the compilation time, and these are also called as the compile time exception. This exception cannot simply be ignored. The programmer should be take care of this exception. Uncheck exception. Now we can see about the uncheck exception. An uncheck exception is an exception that occurs at the time of the execution. These are also called as the runtime exception. This includes the programming bugs such as the logic errors and improper use of the API. Runtime exception are occurred at the time of the compilation. Now we can say about the what is the errors. These are the exceptions at all, but problem that arise beyond control of the user of the programmer. Errors are typically ignored in your code because you can rarely do anything about an errors. For example, if the stack overflow condition will occur, then the error will be arise. They are also ignored by the time of the compilation. Now we can see the exception hierarchy. All exception classes are subtypes of the java.lang exception class. The exception class is a subclass of the throwable class. Other than the exception class, there is another subclass, that is the error, which is derived from the throwable class. Errors are the abnormal conditions that happens in the case of the server failure, and this cannot be handled in the Java program. Errors are generated to indicate the errors generated by the runtime environment. For example, JVM is out of memory. Normal program cannot recover from the errors. The exception class has the two main sub classes, that is the IO exception class and the runtime exception class. The main class is Java.lang, and the object class is derived from that. And there are the subtype of object class is the throwable, and the throwable class has the two types, that is the error and the exception. And the exception class are also divided into the two categories, that is the runtime exception and the other exceptions. This is why this is important to handle the exceptions. For that, we can use the try catch block, and the finally block, and the throw keyword. First of all, we can see that try catch block. The try catch block is used to handle the exception in the Java. The syntax for that is the try and the catch block. Here we can place the code that might be generated inside the generated an exception inside the try block. Every try block is followed by the catch block. When an exception occurs, is called by the catch exception. The catch block cannot be used without the try block, and the catch block catches the exception and the statements inside the catch block is executed. If none of the statements in the try block is generated an exception, an exception the catch block is skipped. Next one we can see about the Java finally block. In Java, the finally block is always executed no matters whether is an exception is occur or not. The finally block is optional, and for each try block there is an only one finally block. If an exception occurs, the finally block is executed after the try catch block, otherwise it is executed after the try block. For example, for each try block there can be the only one finally block. Now we can see about the Java throw and throws keyword. The Java throw keyword is used to explicitly throw the single exception. When we throw an exception, the flow of the program moves from the try block to the catch block. So this is the all about the exception handling in the Java. Thank you all.